So welcome to what is a very special edition of the podcast Life After Work, because we are 50. I mean, we've been 50 for some time, but the podcast is now in its 50th episode. And I have to say, when we started, I hadn't even thought of that being in the horizon. So with me today, as there has been in most of the other 49 episodes, are the usual cast, all of us who are no longer working in our 50s and do stuff like this for a laugh. So I'm gonna go to my former dentist, Mr. Ash Sharma. Ash, how are you?
All very well. How are we all on this auspicious 50th podcast? Very, very
happy 50th.
Yeah, happy 50th. Fantastic.
Yeah. We're missing a little thing of sparkly drink, but there you go.
Yeah.
Any sponsors out there, you're welcome to Moe Chandon, anybody like that, you'll be most welcome.
I've always liked Verve Clicquot myself.
Yeah.
I give my address at the end of the podcast in case you want to send a crate.
Well, let's go to the classy bloke then. Phil Harrison, how are you, Phil?
I'm very good, thank you. It just occurred to me though, what episode would we get to at a point when we'll have to no longer say we're in our 50s? I'll be saying I'm in my 60s soon if we carry it on for another 50 episodes. So it'll have to be
episode 555.
I've got a little while yet. Anyway.
And our overseas contributor, the great Mr. Paul Davies, in his Greek taverna, as he has been for the other 49 episodes, sometimes out on his patio. What's the temperature like in Greece today, Paul?
Oh, it's delightful. I think it's currently at 24 with a moderate breeze just to cool it, but it's absolutely roasting. Happy half century, gentlemen.
Indeed.
Getting there. 2 more years and I will be 60. So what will that be? Approximately, let's say, another 100 episodes. We'll be on my 60th.
And what we definitely can't rule that out. I've got every confidence we'll be doing them, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Look, I want to go back to the idea of 50, right? Because I was thinking about this morning, and I definitely entered my 50s with a sense of foreboding, right? It hung over me quite a lot, actually. And I don't know whether it was a combination of being 50, not working anymore, a little bit not sure where I was going in my life that way. But the more I've got into my 50s, the better it's got. It's not that bad, actually, is it?
I think it's absolutely marvelous. I mean, I approached my 50s. I couldn't wait to be 50 because I knew that in 5 years after that I would be retiring. So I was kind of counting down the days to retirement. But just throwing in this interesting fact. So if it's your birthday today and it's your 50th birthday today, did you know that you have slept for 16.67 years of your life already? And your heart, taken on an average of 80 beats per minute, your heart has beat 2,103,436,800 times. If you're 50 today, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
My word.
Wow.
Impressive.
What was that sleep stat then? If you're 50 today, you've slept for
16.67 years. You've slept. On average, people sleep the 8 hours, don't they? So you've slept around 16 years of your life.
32%.
That's a lot out of that's
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're paying the research team too much for gold like that.
do you not think that graph would be, I don't know about you guys, but that graph would be going down like that? Because the older I get, the less sleep I manage to achieve. But the more I need, if that makes sense.
No, it's a fact as well, isn't it? As you all get older, we start sleeping less, basically. So you start sleeping less, and then hair starts growing out your nose and your ears. That's what happens. So.
Which are probably connected in some way, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they are as well.
It's why we all snore as well. We've got an absolute forest going on in our nostrils.
I hate to be controversial there, chaps, but the closer you get to 60, and I know what you young bucks in amongst the team, I find myself quite partial to an afternoon snooze.
Absolutely.
Have we not done an episode on the joys of the afternoon nap?
Oh, it's absolutely imperative. It's and you know, people are saying that you should have one now. We were ahead of the game, weren't we? Really?
Actually, I've read that as well. That in medieval times, that was, and it's more in tune with the body's natural rhythms that you sleep twice a day. I've read that somewhere. Don't know if it's true, but
So I'm taking it as true. I'm taking it as true because it makes me feel a lot better.
So, Mr. Davis, do you take a little afternoon nap then?
Oh, I'm quite partial to one, as I say. It's you sort of done all your jobs in the morning, and then you think to yourself, not got a lot to do yet. I'll go and have a little bit of a snooze just for an hour or so. But you do get refreshed when you get up. I still sleep like a baby when I go to bed at normal time, though. But
what time do you turn in, Paul? Just out of interest.
I'm getting a bit rock and roll at the minute. I'm up till about 10:30.
Oh, crikey!
I know. Although the last couple of nights, thanks for asking about my health, I've not slept at all because 2 days ago, I don't know if you can see my thumb.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so how on earth have you done that?
I cut it with a saw. I was sawing wood and it snagged and then slipped and took my thumb out. And it was like, I'm on antibiotics and everything, but the pain is horrendous, absolutely horrendous.
That does look bad.
Were you so impressed by my injury that you had to outdo it? Do you remember my thumb injury?
Oh, yes, you cut the tip of your thumb off or something, didn't you?
Yeah. But it's so I've been to the hospital today and they've given me antibiotics and all that business. But my God, it hurts.
Was it stitches?
No. It's they actually tell me to put it in hot water and draw the stuff out. But anyway, that's not what the podcast.
That's what happens when you get in your 50s, isn't it?
Yeah, you do silly things.
I think
when you're in your 50s, sorry, Phil, I'm saying when you're in your 50s, you feel like you're in your 20s and you can do everything, and you can't. Well, it's great.
Oh, did I not show you that before?
No,
you've not seen that. That's what I did to mine.
I'll put yours up, Paul. Let's have a look.
That's not as bad as Phil's. Mine. This is like a chipolata potato that you've nibbled the end off.
But it's healed very well, I have to say. That's what it's now. It's really healed well.
Yeah,
from that to that.
Wow. Oh, from the time to your thumb.
So, Phil, whose thumb did they have to graft on?
No, see, isn't the body incredible that it can just restore that on its own?
So that doesn't change much when we get to 50. Healing capacity, that still stays the same, doesn't it?
Thumbs heal very well at 50, we've established, don't we?
Don't try it with your hand or your head. Don't do anything like that.
Have people, though, increased the number of supplements, vitamins that they take?
I definitely have.
Really?
I have.
You know, and it's not something I do, and I probably should.
I daily take a range of stuff, and I started off with one multi-fit bottle, and you take 2 tablets. Now I have about 4 or 5 different bottles of different things, all different, and I've actually stopped questioning what they are. I just take them. You know, it's just what
really, because I have to say again, I read a load of rubbish and I absorb most of it, and unfortunately, I believe most of it. And I thought the multivitamin approach has proven to be ineffective, and it's far more effective just to have a basically healthy diet. And as long as you do that, and it's not about being zealous about stuff, but if you eat the normal mixed diet that we'd have, so make sure you cover off the fruit and veg bit particularly, because that's where a lot of the vitamins are, that as well as a few grains, nuts and seeds particularly, that it does far more good than the bottled pill stuff.
You're absolutely right, Phil. You're absolutely right. My doctor, who's and I've also heard this of another friend of mine who's a lot more educated than I am. The multivitamins that people were taking, he said, it's a nonsense, because if your body doesn't need like vitamin D that's in the multivitamins, or vitamin C, or vitamin whatever's in there, it won't use it. It'll just get rid of it. So it's a waste of time. They said the best way to find out what your body needs, or the first thing to do, is exactly like you said, continue with a good balanced diet, and the body will sort itself out. Or go for, when you're in your 50s, go for a blood test to see if you lack anything such as iron.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Whatever. And then just buy the relevant vitamin for that to boost your system. And that's a great way, because people do throw multivitamins down them, and you know, they might not need, and they're not cheap, are they?
No.
And I do tend to think we're a very vulnerable to the marketing that goes on to people of our age once we're in our 50s, because you do start to get concerned about more. It's a fact, isn't it? Old people talk about health more because it's more of an issue for us. And that therefore, I think it makes us vulnerable to marketing ploys about, well, what are the remedies for that? And we're looking around for the easy fixes of such as bottles of multi. Sorry, Rod.
This podcast is supported by a high-strength organic lion's mane with organic butter, which you can buy. And
so my recommendation is you get rid of the multivitamins and instead take lots of Veuve Clicquot.
Or Guinness, actually.
Guinness.
Yeah, Guinness is good.
The tipple of your choice.
Yeah.
I'm talking of which, Guinness, I was at a meal last Friday, and I had Guinness Zero, and it's not half bad. I'm not even joking.
I've not heard of that.
It's not bad.
It is the best non-alcoholic alcohol equivalent beer there is out there. I had a mate round at the weekend. He was driving, and I said, "Have a Guinness, right? We'll have a Guinness and try it." And the thing for me about it, Ash, is it still looks like a pint of Guinness, first of all, right? Yes. So you feel like, and I think a lot of it is about that sort of perception thing. Yeah. And it's got a bit of depth when you drink it. Yeah. And it's got a bit of that taste. It's not bad. It's really good.
Rod, if you did a blind test, you think you'd be able to suss it?
Yeah, I still think I would, but I'd love to try it. But I can go out.
I was surprised.
I'm really surprised. I can go on a night and drink Guinness Zero and still feel like I've had a good, like a night where I was part of the
crowd and the scene. Yeah.
It's a really good drink.
Can I just say about what you're saying, Phil? I think I absolutely agree. In fact, with both of you, I do take multivitamins and cod liver and all that. But a lot of I struggle with is like, because I'm a vegetarian, so you get it's hard to get some of the stuff, which is have enough pulses, enough lentils, enough. Like you can, of course you can, if you have enough of it and you plan ahead. But I think the problem is that I don't, and I think possibly a lot of people don't. I think the worst thing I think, Phil, you were saying the worst thing, if you don't need it, you just wee it out anyway. It's not going to cause any harm anyway. It's a waste of money, I guess. But I want to say
the things that the UK are very bad at is eating enough fibre, and we're quite deficient apparently in vitamin B, which is obviously. And
that's what you get with meat, vitamin B.
So we're not doctors, but eat a lot of fibre, fruits, and take vitamin B, and then you'll be, what you will do, you will get into your 50s and be as young and as virile as we are, boys. That's the message here. That's the message.
Going back to our theme of 50, the only serious answer I'll give you this afternoon is, I think when you hit your 50s, I think what you get more than anything is perspective. I think it's that idea when you're in your 20s, life will go on forever, and it's too far in the future. There's too much ahead of you that you don't think about it that much. And that's fantastic, because it's a whole world of opportunity. You don't know where life will take you. It can take you anywhere. In your 50s, I do have to say that world has inevitably closed in a little bit. If you haven't done it by the time you're 55, we can be talking career, relationships. I know it's not all over. More things will happen, and it's important to keep that open mind and younger attitude towards it. But nonetheless, the reality is that there will be more behind you than in front of you, very probably. And the possibilities have closed down a little bit. Now, that sounds a bit depressive, and it's not meant to be, because, as I say, what comes with that is you get a bit of perspective, call it wisdom, the wisdom of age. You place yourself in your life a bit better. You know you're proud of your achievements, but you also know what you still want to do or don't want to do. And I think it gives you that more grounded approach to, you can be more, I don't want to use the word certain, because I'm by no means certain about anything, but I'll end up repeating myself, that it's just a little bit of perspective. You can set things in context a lot better.
I mean, I think you're right.
I don't think I've explained that very well.
No, you have. I agree with you, Terry, to be honest with you, Phil, because the thing is, for me, I think I've banged on about this a while, and I think for me, the big issue was most of your life's landmarks are based upon career, based upon what you've achieved and that sort of thing. And once you get beyond 50, you'll find out that they're not the main landmark for you. The things that you remember most in your life is, your times, it's going to sound a bit cliche, but, you know, the experiences, you know, with your family and your holidays and the things that you've done. And you think you start appreciating those a lot more. I think that, and then when you look forward, you think to yourself, you know, yes, in a way, you know, your career's not going to be there, but there are other things that are going to be just as more important. I think there are things that a whole world is out there for you to actually explore. You can, you know, there's lots of things, particularly travel. I think, who was it that was saying they wanted to travel more?
Yeah, that's one of mine still.
Yeah, so to travel more, and that window is going to be open. Can you imagine all that is waiting for you? So there's no way you can say that, you know, the best part is past behind.
No, I was careful not to say that. Yeah. No, I think the best parts could yet be ahead. And you picked a perfect example there, Ash. That is my antidote to what I've said about, in some ways, your opportunities and horizons closing in a little bit. Travel is very much going to be my antidote to that, because I've seen very little of the world. So that's what still does excite me. And I'm excited about going to spend time doing that.
And what stopped us traveling was our career, wasn't it? Our job.
Partly, yeah.
What we do. But now we've got the opportunity now.
The thing what we've done up to the age of 50, like I say, I'm 58 now, but what you've done by 50, you've laid down the building blocks and the foundations so you can then push on with your future.
Yeah,
because you know what I mean. You've kind of done it. You've got your work. You've got your savings. Hopefully, you've got your health. You've done what you need to do in life, and then you build all that. You've, like you say, Phil. You know, you've got perspective on your life. You don't really need to be looking in papers to think, what high-flying career can I go for now? Because it's not necessary. What it is, it's not coming to the end of a... Here's what it is, up to retirement. You've finished your debt to society, if that's the way you want to put it. Because you've paid your taxes, you've done all what you can, and now this is your time. And I think that's reflected in people's mentality, because I swear to God, I do not feel 58 years of age. And I don't know if this is a new experience because we're perhaps getting better healthcare or eating better or what. But if somebody was to say, how old do you feel? I would say, I feel in my 30s. I really feel in my 30s. I haven't got the capability of running really fast for a mile anymore, because I haven't trained to do that. And that, you know, when you were a kid, you could run forever, couldn't you? You just never stopped. But I feel like, I've done what I needed to do. I've looked after what I need to do, and it's time to move on and explore and you know, do it. And that's what I think we should
absolutely, Paul. I'd echo a lot of virtually all that you've said there. I won't repeat it all, but yeah, my version of that would be that, much as I've loved having the job I did for a long time, and then I've loved having my family grow up, nonetheless, to a certain extent, you within all that, you're pleasing other people to a large degree as well. With both those things, a career and family, come with the idea of you've got to learn to live with other people and compromise and please other people to a large degree. I find it's the current lifestyle is very much more about, well, I can do what I want to do more.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it should be about now, because, you know, like I say, we've done our bits and pieces. We've got grown-up children, or children of a maturity where they understand what's going on. So yeah, you know, enjoy it. Let's go for it and enjoy your times. Did you know, just another fact to throw in about being 50? So if you were born today, 50 years ago, did you know that on your birthday, 333,081 babies were born on that particular day? And
were in the world.
Yeah. Not in bloody Altrincham. Yes, of course, in the world. It's 333,000 babies there, Rodney.
I'm just checking.
And if you were lucky enough to be born on this day 50 years ago, chances are your name for a female is going to be Jennifer, or the male is going to be Michael, because they were the most popular names of that time.
Jennifer and Michael. And do you know what was number one?
Yes, well, I know what was number one in the US. It was Roberta Flack. The first time I ever saw your face.
Ah, right. Great song. In the UK, I believe it was Amazing Grace. by the pipes and drums and military band of the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards.
I remember that.
No,
Wow.
I've just Googled. It's this amazing thing when you get to your 50s, you can Google everything.
But you don't tell anybody you Google because then you think you're full of wisdom.
Dash. I fell at the last hurdle there, didn't I?
Yeah, these are just facts that I've kept in my head for the last 50 years. I've not Googled them at all. So yeah, just to finish up on my little fact, birthdays today, although they're not 50, but birthdays today, Channing Tatum, the actor, is it Melania Trump or Melanie Trump? How do you pronounce it?
Melania.
Melania Trump, Jet Li, and famous deaths, gentlemen, on this day was not 50 years ago, but this day. Lucille Ball. I remember the Lucille Ball show.
Yeah.
She died in 1980 on this day. Irene Ryan died 1973 on this day. Do you know who Irene Ryan is?
No.
She was the granny out of the Beverly Hillbillies.
Aha, right.
Also, Count Basie died on this day in 1984.
Right.
And this, I saw this and I thought, my God almighty, I didn't realize it was that. 1999 on this day, Jill Dando, she was murdered.
Really?
Remember that?
Yeah.
On this day, 99.
1999, that's 23 years ago. That's crazy.
23 years.
Yeah. Mad.
That was somebody who was stalking her, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was absolutely crazy. And just to take us off that bit of that, I didn't want to end on a bad one. But if they'd have been alive today, Shakespeare would be celebrating his birthday, and Rudolf Hess. But there you go.
Well, picking up on that sort of those with dates in mind and linking it to what I was saying before about perspective, it's a strange sort of perspective that you get on time as well. With I don't think it's peculiar to your 50s. I think it's just a fact of getting older. And I love those facts about the way they put it of saying we were born closer to things like the First World War than we were to today. It's stuff like that. It's I don't know if that's that's actually true now, isn't it? It must be true. Yeah, we were, and it does start to give you a different perspective on time and how and age and history even.
The First World War.
Yeah, think about it. So I was born in 66.
1914.
So I was born in 1966 and it finished in 1918. So what's the difference between that? That's 48 years, and 68 is well closer to the First World War than it is to today, my birth date.
Bloody hell.
See, exactly. There you
Thanks,
go.
Phil. Thank you for that one. Good God.
And when you start to think about time and how long ago things are, another example of when you're a kid, whether it was England winning the World Cup or the Beatles, for example, it was all black and white, ancient history from another generation, wasn't it? And yet that was in the 1980s. So it was barely 20 years before that. And think how old that stuff felt when you were in your 20s.
Yeah.
And yet now, 20 years ago was nothing, was it? It was.
It is a strange the way. Again, this is why we need some sort of psychologist on as a guest, don't we? Because it's very strange how your mind interprets time as you grow older. You know, like you say, when you're in your teens and your 20s, time doesn't mean anything. You could say something. Oh, you know, such a person 20 years ago did this and what? Not interested. Move on. But things like the Jill Dando thing and was Chernobyl, was that 50 years ago this week? The disaster in Chernobyl?
Well, 50 years? No, couldn't be.
No, I think
it's been 40 years.
Google that, I think.
It must have been 40 years, Chernobyl.
It may have been, but even still, 40 years, because I do remember, I do recall vaguely it coming on, but that's like 40 years. You think, my God. It amazes me how things like that seem like a few months ago. It's bonkers.
Yeah, no, it's bonkers, isn't it? It really does give you a final example from me is, do you remember as a kid how long, incessant, intolerably long double chemistry was on a Thursday afternoon? And it was about an hour. It may have been an hour and 10 minutes.
Hello.
And it's, oh, how long? It's so boring. And sorry, chemistry, it could have been anything. It could be double history, whatever. And now you want to do anything, you can't get much done in an hour, can you? It's not, you want to settle down and do something. If it's less than an hour, don't bother, because you haven't got time.
Chernobyl was 1986.
86.
Yeah. On the stay, in and around the stay.
What's that?
36 years ago.
36 years ago. 36 years ago. Quite mad.
Wow.
But we have to remember, or I have to remember, to younger people how much like ancient history that will sound. But stuff that's in our lifetime doesn't feel. I think we don't want to believe that it's things are that long ago.
And
again, I think once you get to this age and you realise how much, just how much technology and advancement we have witnessed in our life. I mean, in our lifetime, man has landed on the moon. That's not something that was ancient history past our lifetimes. In 1969, Neil Armstrong's landed on the moon for the first time ever. And it's social media, computers, and all these gadgets and electric cars and all that, all happened in our lifetime. And it's getting faster. And you wonder what the next generation are going to be able to say. Guess what happened in our lifetime? Because
Elon Musk bought Twitter.
Yeah, but that's happened in our lifetime.
I know.
You know what I mean? So if somebody was born, let's say somebody was born today, and we could fast forward 50 years, I wonder what they could say. Bob, this happened in my life.
It's a good point, actually, Bob. Can you think about? I mean, now when I say to the kids that I have to queue up for a phone to make a phone call in a red box to basically and share, and they go, "What? You used to pick a phone up that everyone else has picked and sneezed on, and all the rest of it." Go, we didn't even give another thought to that. We just did it, put coins in and that sort of thing. So I guess the question you're asking is maybe in 40 or 50 years ago, time when they're talking to their kids, and their kids might go, "What? You actually used to drive a car? What? You had to actually know where you're going. You had to steer it." Because it could be all auto-driven by then. You don't, because that's in the pipeline now, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Tesla are all, they're all, Google are doing it as well, aren't they? With, all these self-drive cars. At the end of you don't know, do you?
Just on that point, how bonkers was that the other day? That I think was on Rod's show on the news. So driverless cars, you will be allowed to watch television in a driverless car. You will still not be able to use your mobile phone.
Yeah. Yes.
What the hell?
Yes.
How does that work?
Exactly. How does that make sense?
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense at all.
That's just that.
That's just nuts,
isn't it?
That's it. I can't see the consistent logic.
No, I can't see the consistency at the end of the day. So unless they're saying that you're going to be on your phone like this, but you'll be distracted watching telly anyway.
But you think about it though, in possibly still within our lifetime, you'll have autonomous vehicles where you will essentially program it and off it will go.
Yeah,
so you will go to London in your vehicle and you will have a snooze on the way down, and you will program it to stop off at the service station, maybe call in at Starbucks. No endorsement for you, Starbucks. And this episode is sponsored by any brand we mention. And it would be mad, wouldn't it? But it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It's definitely going to happen. I mean, the Japanese are leading the forefront because it's all about the wireless structure, isn't it? The Wi-Fi structure of the world. The UK have got the 5G out, but they're not. The signals and the reception isn't consistent enough to actually power the cars, to look after the cars by the satellites. The Japanese are almost there because their fiber broadband and whatever is so much quicker than ours over here that they can develop these gadgets a lot quicker because they know it'll work. But I don't know. do you know, it's a great idea, but would you want to go to sleep wondering if the Wi-Fi is going to drop out on your car and it's going to veer
Yeah,
off?
they'd have to. Well, is that why the Japanese are more healthy then for their lifestyle? Is it because they've got more fiber? Is it? I'm sorry.
Another
We almost
thing that
got through an episode without one of my.
For our listeners
Yeah.
as well, can we just say, I think that was the age.
Sorry, I better try and recover from that. It's something you've mentioned
over
before.
are you over the age of 50? Dad jokes suddenly
Dad jokes, yeah.
Up,
No, I'm known
sorry
for my
about
dad
that.
jokes.
I'll come out with a dad joke as well, shortly.
Yeah,
so
you're entitled when you're in your 50s, aren't you?
Coming back to Mr. Musk's acquisition of Twitter, right? If he had bought something like, I don't know, T-Mobile or somewhere like that, like a telecommunication company, I could see how certain things would start to line. He owns a car company; those cars could become the first autonomous vehicles, etc., etc. I could see that. I just don't see why he spends 50 billion, 60 billion on Twitter, unless it's all about free speech, and his theory is it should be more open. I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to be too rational to join the dots.
Well, especially since you can't be on social media while you're in your autonomous vehicle. He's made a huge mistake there, hasn't he? What I was going to say was before, it's something you've mentioned before, Rod. These very podcasts we're doing, it'd be an interesting thought that if you seal them up in a time capsule and come back and take Paul's thing about fast forwarding 50 years, the kind of perspective they'd give the people in 50 years' time, what sort of perspective it would give on our time, which I guess is one little point about what we're doing, isn't it? And particularly with the idea of, if you read the headlines, and when you mentioned what's going on in the world today, we've got the Ukraine war, we've had the pandemic. These are huge sort of social shift issues for a society that are going on, that we're living through. And it might seem that when you read about all the stuff we're living through in history books, it might seem quite, I don't know, dreadful, for obviously. And yet here we are talking, and hopefully what we're providing is a lot of the colour and the flavour of what it's actually like, what else is going on underneath those massive banner historical headlines.
I mean, I think you're right. If you're looking at the perspective of things, I mean, if you've got
perspective, exactly.
So if you got our perspective, Bill, I mean, do you think our perspective with all of these would have changed if we were still working? I think that our perspective has been slightly more detached and slightly more nuanced, because we can actually see what's happening, because we're not having to. We didn't get. I personally wasn't affected job-wise, but I saw what my wife Heidi had to go through, wearing the masks and this, that, and the other, and the gowns and all that sort of thing. So would it be fair to say that we've been slightly insulated from it?
I think it would. Yes, I agree. I think
we're insulated now, or we were insulated in our professional career.
No, now because we're retired now, and for whatever reason, we've slightly been insulated from the effects of COVID to that extent. I know it affected because it couldn't go out and all that sort of thing.
I think you're right.
Do you agree that people who are at work, they got the brunt of it?
Hopefully we're still in touch, but we are, to an extent, in our little bubble, aren't we? We are insulated from a lot of what's going on at the moment. Clearly not all of it, but
I don't think so much insulated so much. I think once you leave work, you become detached, because there's a whole load of rules and regulations and red tape and everything you've got to follow when you're working. And when you've left that work, you become detached from what you have to do. So you've got this whole space that you need to fill with something. So insular, no, because you've all got partners that have had to go through this, you know what's going on. I just think detached from what's going on.
It
does feel like we're viewing it from a little bit of distance.
Yeah, I think so.
However we want to term it, but yeah, I'd agree.
I do think though that not working gives you a bit more mind space to challenge things more, and to come at it at different angles. Because I think when you are working, your head is full of that professional job that you did and a lot of that knowledge. Now, actually, I'd probably tend to read more stuff that's just generally happening and form more opinions about that. because I have more mind space for it, if you like.
Do you ever you know, since this is open to all you guys, since leaving your jobs and becoming retired, do you tend to look at things more constructively? Problems that come in that aren't work related constructively. So something could be happening let's say something's happening in Parliament. Have your views on what a particular situation in Parliament, have your views changed from when you were working to when you were retired? Can you look at it in more depth when you're retired than when you could in work and come up with a better solution? Did you not bother when you were at work? Do you know what I mean? Have you more? Can you come up with more constructive stuff about how to resolve a problem than you could when you were at work?
I think you can give more time to that problem. I think you're right, because if you're reading something, you might just give it a glance. You might not read the article fully, but now, like Phil was saying, you can actually spend time, reading something properly, and then you've got the time to actually formulate an opinion and actually be a little bit more analytical about it. And the big one, I think, for me personally, is that when you have that opinion, and if someone doesn't agree with you or anything like that, you can just let it go. Because I personally, I'm not that bothered what other people think about things anymore. Before, when I was working, I was thinking, oh God, what's he going to think about? Like, if I say this, what are they going to say about that? You've got a bit more confidence within yourself to just say, look, at the end of the day, that's what I think, and be less fearful of situations.
Yeah, I agree with all that, actually. Yeah. I think it's the big one in amongst all that for me is merely that time thing. So it's the point you've all made, isn't it? That headspace time, Rod. Yeah, the time, Paul, to actually pick up on what's going around and actually think about it a bit more. And yes, Ash, you do read about it a bit more as well. Does it allow me to come up with better solutions? I don't know ultimately, but certainly all the other things that, yeah, you do observe a bit more and think about things and reflect on things a bit more.
Yeah,
purely because you've got the time.
I have actually, with the exception of my memory issues, which is the reason why I don't work, I actually sometimes think that since I've stepped out of professional work, I probably would be a much better consultant now, because I would be a bit more abstract and a little bit less in a certain sort of tunnel, if you know what I mean. I think my thinking process would probably be better than it was when I was working. Perspective would be better.
You've got perspective now.
Yeah. But don't you think that's the irony of employment at the moment, is the fact that, I don't know if discarded is the right word, but, as you get a certain age, your opinions potentially are discarded, or your role is discarded. People say, right, you're old, you're too old now. And the irony, like you just said, Rod, is the fact that, you know what, you've actually got far better perspective, possibly more wisdom. You appreciate life more. You know what's happened, what's more important. Like you said, you're more analytical, and they're just wasting it. All that wasted experience, isn't it? And they just think, right, you're done. You're 55, 60, off you go, sling your hook.
Well, you don't even have to. I don't even think it's an age thing, Ash. I think once, for whatever reason, you move away from that professional circuit, right? Yeah. They assume that that's you. You're just done. Right, and it's quite amazing how quickly your network disintegrates, and your usefulness to people disintegrates, and you're assumed not to be useful anymore. And actually, for all the reasons we were just talking, you come at things with a totally different perspective. You're much more independent. You're much more objective. You're probably much more rational thinking, and this is where this is why you need independent people in the world doing governance things. For example, people who have no agenda. They're not in it for the money per se. They're just coming in with good views. And as I say, sometimes I get really frustrated that I still have a reasonable amount of energy, and I think I'm probably more I can be more rational now, and I have a better sense of perspective on things. But my memory doesn't allow me to do it. And it's so frustrating at times, you know.
Frustrating.
And even working in the voluntary space, you know, you don't come in, your job doesn't bring you any kudos, so you don't really come in, you're starting all over again to build up your profile. So I think you know, I've had to learn to sort of calm down and to accept it. And it's taken, I'm nearly 6 years, 5.5 years since I retired. And I'm only, year and 3/4 into my 50s. It's still taken a long time to accept that, really. And I got to admit, I am still frustrated that I don't get to do some of the things that I would have liked to have done. But I really enjoy an awful lot about my life, and it's the simple things, you know, going out and talking to people.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
You see, your the thing is though, your position when you were working is quite a high pressure job, isn't it? It's like time is money, and you know, you have a lot of deadlines, and you have a lot of problematic stuff to sort out that's going to benefit the people that you were giving advice to. So to try, you did that for many years, to try and cut that off immediately, it's never going to happen. I'm surprised that a year and a half in your 50s, and however long it is since you left the consultancy world, I'm surprised how quickly you're starting to adjust. Because if you've done that for a long time, decisions, plans, it's like muscle memory. It'll stay with you, you know, for quite some years, really, I would imagine.
This is the thing I would say to anybody who's getting close to retirement is actually worth having a plan. It is worth investing in finding something else to do. And it's worth having a transition plan, i.e. you don't just suddenly stop and jump off the cliff. I don't think anyway, because it's quite nice to have something that you ease into because you manage that transition. It's just is my wasn't my experience, but it's now my reflection of what happened. You know, but 50's all right. I gotta say, 50's okay.
No, it's fantastic.
Yeah, 50s, like I say before, chaps. Yeah, I think it's a mindset. You know, I really do think it's a mindset. If you continue to look forward to the things you now can do as retirement and have that plan, which, like you said, Rod, you can't stress how important having that plan as to what to do after your retirement is. It's so important. Unfortunately, one of the statistics, police officers, a ridiculous amount of police officers die quite soon after retirement because they have done 30 years of the same thing and never, yes, you know, you get a nice pension, but a lot of them don't plan, and a lot of them, they become institutionalized. They really do become institutionalized, because that's all they know. And if they haven't kind of planned for their future, look, I'm not going to be doing law enforcement. Even if it's owning allotment and growing potatoes, so long as you've got something to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's a danger for those people who have lived their careers, if you like, that's all that they've had, that's defined them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with loving what you've done, but if it's your total world, then, which is great up to that point, but you are going to face that difficulty of once that ends. It's obvious, isn't it? Yeah, well, what are you then? Are you nothing? You've got to have something to replace that. So whether it's just by transition or something can immediately start. So, but yeah, act on that. Find what you want to do. Start doing something. I hope what I said earlier didn't come across as disillusioning, and because it wasn't meant to at all. The idea of horizons closing in. I think it's the positive bit of that is you're more conscious of time. You've got that perspective I was talking about earlier. I think it gives a sense of positive urgency in a good way to, what do I want to do? I've got, whether it's 10, 20, 30, 40 years now to do something with. What is it I want to do? And I think we've all thought about that process, about what we enjoy doing, do we want to achieve things still, or do we just want to sit back and and smell the coffee a bit. And what do you want to do with this time you've got? And it's liberating and it's exciting.
It is.
I mean, the first time when I was retiring, I was going to say that. I mean, Paul had it on the head there. For me, it was like trepidation. Initially, you're on the precipice and you think to yourself, you know, you got this job, like the policeman, you were saying that, you know, they have a very structured work life, don't they? It's based upon overtime, and it's very, very structured. It's like my days were very structured to basically 20-minute intervals. It was like, you know, this patient, that patient, and before you know it, your day was gone, and then you plan. Everything was very, very structured. So I knew I was going to have to retire for about 4 or 5 months, and it was an impending doom. It was like, oh God, what the hell am I going to do? I used to have chats with Rod, you know, loads of times we used to come in and I was picking his brain about what, you know, we used to extend our checkups even longer for 40 minutes. And I think, oh my God. And then it took a while to get over that, you know, months afterward. And then, like you just said, all of you have just said, now it's just a great liberation. Now you know that it's what you do with your time is now up to you. That can be a bit scary, but if you know what you want to do and you've got the freedom to do that now, and I look back on that, I'm thinking, what was I so afraid of? And it's just the unknown. And once you realize that if you structure your day, keep yourself busy, like you were saying, Paul, keep yourself busy all the way through, all the time, it's fine, because you've got so much, you know, we've got so much in front of us, I think, and we're so blessed and lucky, aren't we? Like you say, you know, tying it together, we've got this world which is, you know, technology rich. You can do what you want, travel where you want. We didn't have this 50 years ago, because, you know, in our retirement now, we've got the world that's open to us now. We are so blessed, aren't we?
Yeah.
If I had my own firm, I think I would have a course or some sort of mentor scheme to help people plan for their retirement,
sure, yeah,
to get the most out of it, but also with the idea that actually they might actually continue to contribute to your company, you know, in terms of mentoring or whatever. But it is definitely something that it's not really a surprise when you think about it. It's a transition in your life, and it needs planned. It's not to be taken for granted, and you've got to sow some seeds to begin with that in time for them to be at a good point when you're ready to retire.
And not to be afraid of. I mean, what was my big advice to myself would be, and if you have to write a little note to myself 3-4 years ago, don't be afraid. It's fine. It'll be okay.
Yeah. Did I tell you I went to the University of the Third Age U3A meeting the other week? They had a careers fair in Hale. I went down just to see what they did, and actually that was quite an inspiring type of thing. It was a bit like because it was like going to a trade fair or a jobs fair, but everybody was there pitching the thing that they do in U3A as a club, right? So it could be astronomy, it could be pottery or whatever, and you could go down and see what they offered and then decide if you wanted to join U3A. And I guess it pointed to me that as it's about people who are at a certain period in life, typically retired, you know, recognizing you need some structure, and there's some things you can learn new skills, and actually you could give something back to the community as well. And it was really the thing that got me was the energy there. You know, there was a wide variety of skills, and there was a lot of energy in the hall, in the church hall, with people pitching stuff. You know, and it was quite good. You know, really, really good.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, so I think the key message when you get into your 50s or nearer retirement, or indeed way before retirement, just remember that once you get there, your mind can go 2 ways. It can shut down because you haven't planned and you don't know what to do and you're just going to waste your life away. Or you can understand what you said, Phil, that, you know, you do come to the realization and put perspective in the time that we've got left, and approach it with a clear, focused mind on something you want to do.
Yeah.
Because that's the key to longevity. I tell you, I absolutely say it without fear of comeback. I think that is the key to longevity. If you know after your main career what you want to do and set out to do it, the world is your oyster. It's the endless limits as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually think this country is missing a trick in that there is a lot of spare resource and energy and knowledge that could be utilized better on things in the community with people who have retired. And I think we're missing a trick in all sorts of walks of life in terms of education and training, all sorts of mentoring, for example.
I think we're kind of turning a corner, but for a great number of years, as far as I can remember, and certainly my parents, my grandparents' time, the kind of the mode of living was you work, you retire, you get your pension, you die, and that was it. There was no in between the retirement and the death. There was nothing but claiming your pension, perhaps going to a bit of bingo once a week or something like that. But now we're kind of turning where people of a certain age, retirement age, and like us four, if we came out of employment before retirement age, you actually do start thinking, and people are starting to think, do you know what I'm going to do when I'm this age? I'm going to start cycling. I'm going to start taking up bowling. I've always wanted to grow plants. I've always wanted to do this. And people, thankfully, are switching onto that. And I think it's a good thing. We're not there. We're not completely there. We've still got a little bit of the leftover from you finish work, you draw your pension, you die. But I think more and more people are actually becoming excited about retirement because what they can do in their own time.
And resources we've got now as well, things like online courses for things like, Paul, like writing courses you can do and that sort of thing, or if you wanted to do a marathon or if you want to run, there's people who work out schedules for you. It's anything, you just name it. There's nothing you cannot want. If you want to do something, there's no excuse for it now. You can do
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
All right. Well,
go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all right, isn't it? It's not a bad life.
No,
it's a good life.
It is a very good life. We as I keep saying to myself, I am blessed. We are blessed, aren't we? We're lucky.
Yeah. I mean, just to finish on a prime example, we're in our 50s. We've retired for one reason or another, and here we are podcasting.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no way I could have predicted that, could we? No chance.
And I think we've just produced the antidote to the one we did on funerals.
Oh, well, anyway, look, it's 50. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the next 50. And because there's one sure thing, the world will continue to churn up things that we could chat about. Even if we know we're all about them, we'll still chat about them. And that's the nice thing. And as long as there's still a world doing that, then that's good for me. I'll be very happy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got so many years of a razor sharp experience and opinion to give. Another 50 episodes are waiting for us, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. And it's been a pleasure doing the first 50 with you boys.
Yes, and you as well. Yeah,
and Firth Clico or anybody who wants to sponsor, you wouldn't say that.
To help us celebrate.
Yeah, exactly. Your brand could be in that space. There you go.
And just for a quick one, just to let Elon Musk know that the podcast is for sale. That's a cheap £50 million per broadcast.
And I could be holding up any bottle here. So if you want to put your logo on here, that's
Hey, Ash, your face could be a logo. You could.
Now be careful. A logo for what?
I take a tattoo. I'll happily use my facial retail space. Anyway, sell your soul. Why not? Everybody else is doing it. Really great to see you as usual. We haven't got a glass of something to ching ching to, but if I had, I would be ching chinging. I'm going to go see Divine Comedy tonight. I'm looking.
Fantastic!
Yeah, a little last minute plan. So there you go. I'll be taking the National Express. You look
Brilliant song, great lyrics.
Brilliant lyrics.
There you
Yeah.
go. And he's from Northern Ireland. There you go. Right.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Take
And
care.
enjoy your
And come
concert.
next week. Cheers. Bye bye.
Great week.
Take care.